Thank you so very much. It's important we lay this argument to rest, whether the Catholic bishop, what they said was in line economically or whether it's not correct. So I will start with what economics call the implication or the aftermath effect of policy decisions. In the case of Nigeria, we have seen quite a number of them, from tax reform to subsidy removal to exchange stability and so on and so forth. And before this time, you recall that subsidy got up to about 6.6 trillion naira. So when government said we're handing off subsidy, what government was saying technically was that we want federal government to get a portion of that 6.6 trillion naira, while the rest will be shared amongst subnationals and the local government. Secondly, the government has tried to defend the naira such that the exchange rate is not as strong as it was. Naira became really weak. So in economic, for a closed economy, even though Nigeria is an open economy, there are at least three components. We have the household, which the bishop are speaking to. And I want Nigerians to listen very carefully. The bishop are speaking to at least two of the components of an economy. We have the household, we have the firm, we have government, and if you are talking open economy, we have import and export. So, but for the sake of Nigeria, let me limit the argument so that I don't turn it to a lecture to those three components. Government is saying, guys, I used to support business and household. I'm going to answer off. Face economic reality any way it appears. The question will now be, what will be the new prices of things? The price of flight ticket for the rich, I'm going to start with the rich, it went almost times 3. The price of sachet water, which went from 5 to 10 naira to about 30 to 50 naira. What does that mean? Cost of living for both the rich and the poor has increased. Now there are other external factors, which includes war in Iran, which is even more recently, war in Ukraine, Russia, Ukraine, which has affected quite a number of other things, while the policy of government was still running side by side with several externalities. So don't pay some more revenue. And you have seen that reported by FAC, that federal allocation of accounts to the federation. You have seen that more money by the committee is now allocated to the federal government, to the state government, even to the local government. Where the problem lies is what the Catholic bishops are talking about. This money is not trickling down. Poverty has elevated, not my word, and not that of Catholic bishop. But poverty in Nigeria was not this high, at least in the last decade. It was not as high as we have it. Now, what really matters? What can you really measure when it comes to whether the economy is better off or worse off? We can talk the numbers, and as an economist, I can give you the numbers and tell you what is happening to inflation, combine that with unemployment, combine that all of those. The question is, what is the implication on household? Let me say this to you. The most important thing economists are after is standard of living. If the standard of living is worse off, then economists are not trying. If the standard of living is better off, then economists are trying. So we made all of those policies so that government can inject money directly on infrastructure. Those are the assumptions. Can invest it on rail, can invest it on road, can invest it on those. I've seen in some states some improvement, and I can tell you large improvement in the FCT. I've seen some improvement in Oyo. I've seen some improvement in Kaduna. I've seen some improvement in Abia, especially Enugu State. You see some improvement coming up to those states. But I will tell you that the time it takes for that policy to translate to improve life is long. Perhaps that is why Catholic bishops are saying that we need to find a way to mitigate the impact of poverty in life of people. Nigeria's inflation, even though it's at 15%, above 15%, less than 16%, but I will tell you that prices are elevated. Because you need to start thinking of inflation at 15%. The way you were seeing the numbers high, why? We have rebased it. It does not mean we have gone to the market to reduce the prices. That is not what we have done. What we have done is to rebase the number, and after rebase the number, inflation itself is coming down. 1, because we have seen improvement in reserve. 2, because we have seen relative stability. to the positives of policy government is making. But as this translated to income, labor, which I warned labor very vehemently, and I remember it was on this show, I started warning labor, do not settle for 70,000 naira. What you need to settle for as minimum, as of that time wage was reviewed, must be 100,000 naira. Today, labor is coming back to say, oh, this is no longer sufficient for us, because we knew, see, economics, we sit with the numbers, we will project the future, and perhaps that's different between us and accountants. Accountants are very wonderful colleagues, we have so much respect for them, but that benefit of looking at what your future will look like, we can tell you today that if you are not careful, if you don't change some of the parameters, your future may be miserable. Yes, unemployment is 5%, but you need to ask, 5% of what? The 5%, is it people like you who work 8 hours a day? That is 40 hours a week, and you can calculate what that will be in a month. No, the 5% you have is those who work only 1 hour. 1 hour. If you look at 2 hours is more, if you look at 3 hours is more, if you look at even 4 hours, the number we're using, the methodology we're using is over 30%. But we are talking of only 1 hour a week. What does that mean? If you call a Merua, some of my friends in the up north here, come and fetch water for me, and he does that 1 hour, and he doesn't have any other job till next week, according to our numbers, that person is now employed. Or perhaps if you have capacity to do more than he's doing, we can say he's underemployed. Does that depict the reality of hunger, poverty, and deprivation? The answer is no. But does that mean that the policy has not helped? I can tell you where the policy has helped. In terms of non-revenue to government, we have seen relative stability in exchange rate. We have also seen improvement in some key areas. So when Catholic Bishop make their statement, it is important to note that that statement is extremely correct. And anyone who says that they are not correct in economics, I tell you, they are perhaps not telling you the truth.